Hi, I'm Jeremy. If you've been watching me, I try to do 2 videos a day, Monday through Friday. On one YouTube channel, it's creating a noble house, which, in other words, it's just a play, spice things up a little bit. But it's about practical focus improvement. I've done some stuff on sleeping and helping me sleep better. It's been a bit of an issue, and things have gotten a lot better. With dieting, and now it's kind of time to focus in on sorting myself out. I'm trying to do these self-improvements in a way that I think is going to help me out the best in a good order. There's no such thing as perfect, and procrastination is saying, well, I need to learn more. It's like, no, you just need to do it, because a lot of the stuff you don't know until you actually do it, because what might have worked for somebody else or didn't work for them may not be true for you. And with this, I want to sort out my goals. I have been working and working and working on this one for a long time, because a lot of it is just getting rid of a bunch of the nonsense and really zeroing yourself into what it is that you want to do. But in order to do that, you have to figure out, well, what do you want and why? It's just kind of a bunch of questions. It's a domino effect. I think I'm to a point where I can do this, and like yesterday or maybe the day before, I came across this video with Jordan Peterson talking. It is a simple way to sort out your life and create a better future. Jordan Peterson Motivation is the title of the video, and the YouTube channel is Success Chasers, and I will have a link in the description below so you can listen to this. But I'm just going to go through this, and I take a lot of notes. This is like my thing, my schedule, and the things that I learn. I have things both on the computer and things that I write down, and I have things on a USB stick because I've lost all of them, either through spilling something or just my computer going bad. And so I have kind of multiple ways of taking notes of stuff, and it just depends on what it is as to which. Whenever it comes to my personal life, I try to write that out. Whenever it's more about things that are with the YouTube channel, that can be online. So it depends. And then a few of them kind of jump back and forth, like the Noble House, because I don't want to just learn this just to better myself. I really think it's trash whenever people keep secrets. It's like, well, if it's helping me, then shouldn't it be able to help others? I mean, obviously it's not going to help everyone, but maybe there will be something. So take from it whatever that you want. And so if you too, or if you're lost, my childhood was absolute garbage, you want to get things together, doesn't matter how old you are, do it with me. That's fine. That'd be great. I wish somebody would have done this whenever I was younger, but I didn't have the internet whenever I was younger. How old I am. It's new for me. So if you two are wanting to just maybe clean things up a little bit, maybe there's some things, it's like, give the video a like, subscribe, become a member. It helps me out a lot. I'd appreciate it. So let's listen to this.
How did I balance marriage, fatherhood, and a demanding career?
And that's hard. I want to create this incredibly massive, large website. It's going to just blow the socks off of everything out there. It's going to take forever to get going because every damn thing in life is a grind. And how do you balance it? It's just, man, I've been cutting out a lot of things in my life, really trying to focus in on this. It's made me take a really hard look at what procrastination is. And one of those things, like I've already mentioned, is, well, I need to learn more. It's like, no, you don't. You just need to do it. You're going to fail. You're going to screw up. And That's right. And he actually talks about, I've heard him say this before, but he's going to say it again in this video that they put together. And so balancing things out, man, this is part of sorting yourself out. You just, if you really want to have the life that you want, you got to set the F down and figure this crap out. It's not just going to happen one day. You have to do it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So I have no problems eating my words with this.
Well, I stopped wasting time. That helped a lot. I stopped drinking. I stopped going to bars. I really didn't spend a lot of time with my friends when I had young kids in particular.
That's that last one, not spending time with friends. I don't like spending a lot of time with people, but I mean, I'm not a hermit that just lives in a cave and I don't go out and see people or do anything with them. I mean, I got my friends, and it's like that's hard, but I've cut back on that quite a bit, because there was a time whenever I was just, man, and if I could go back, I would definitely cut back on that stuff a lot, because what a joke. What a waste of time. And you know what part of that problem was? Part of that problem was that nobody ever sat me down and really went over about how every Tom, Dick, and Harry that you run into, they don't need to be your friends. That your friends just shouldn't be somebody who's just kind of nice in the moment. If you want to have good relationships, you got to get your head out of your butt and figure all this stuff out. Then you find other people who are also, along the same track. But I've never been a bar person at all. The only times that I've ever been to a bar is because somebody else wanted me to go with them. I have never gone on my own. It has never been a suggestion of mine. At least I don't remember it ever being a suggestion. And part of it is because I just barely drink. So what the hell do I want to go to a bar for? It's like, screw that crap. So, and drinking, I mean, it's not that I don't drink. It's just, it's rare. It's a handful of times a year. And I've never been drunk. I don't see the appeal in it. And you know what? Maybe I'm missing out. But so far I haven't. And it's like, I got better things to do and to spend my money on. And I will say this, at least I've never been a drunk. So I don't know about the rest of you, but I've thoroughly enjoyed not being a drunk. So
I had friends, and I saw them, with some degree of regularity, but where I cut corners was more with social life outside my family. So I spent a lot of time with my wife, and I spent a lot of time with my kids, and I spent a lot of time on my career. And so you have to make choices.
So he's narrowed his life down to three things: his career, his wife, his children. Now, fortunately, they all kind of mingle in real well together. The wife and the kids especially, But dealing with the spouse is definitely a hell of a lot different than what you do with your kids. How you talk to them, how you deal with them, all that. Completely different relationships, all different things that you say and do with them. And that's what I'm trying to do. I have like all these things that I like doing, that I want to do. Like I have, that is a whole bunch of hobby mess over there that I enjoy. I have a keyboard back here, which I touch once in a blue moon. This is another hobby over here. Pottery is another hobby. I mean pottery. I don't do this one anymore though. Lifting weights, which I've actually stopped because I got hurt, and now after this, I think next week is going to be digging into exercising. I've been doing it a little bit already. Running, because whenever I go run, it takes me like an hour, because I go out and I run. What else do I have for a hobby? I got that for a hobby. I have cycling for a hobby. And that's only kind of what's current. And it's like, no, I got to cut a lot of this out. I got to get rid of it. I got to make time to focus in. And it sucks because I find myself kind of being drawn back into them. But it's getting better. Making improvements. But you got to make choices. You can't do everything. You've got 24 hours in a day.
And I think those were reasonable choices. I'm not displeased with them. Don't abandon your friendships, but you can certainly look at where you're wasting time and just stop doing things.
And like most, I don't spend a lot of time watching TV shows and movies, but I think it's definitely more than what it should have been. I think society's too lax on it. I know people who do a lot of that stuff. It's like with TV shows. Like I watched The Walking Dead for several seasons, and then I guess I have a couple of shows every now and then that I watch. I think at any given time, there's only 2 shows that I'm currently engaged with. Maybe it'll go up to 3. There's just not a lot. And I think movies have just kind of gone down the crapper with that. Like that new Ghostbusters movie they had with all the female cast because of women. It's like, yeah, I guess I really don't care. But just because you're going to do it just to have women seemed dumb to me. And I didn't ever watch it, but supposedly it just wasn't good in a lot of different areas. It might be something that would still, I can't imagine that it would still be fun to watch, I would think. So, but I don't want to watch movies. So I enjoyed about half of the Avenger movies. So those are about the only movies recently that I've been wanting to watch. And other than that, it's like, there's just nothing. Because the movies that they had back in the 80s, those things were great. Those were a lot of fun. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch something like The Goonies or The Princess Bride. It's just funny, whimsical, adventurous kind of movies.
It would be a waste of time. So, and I did. And so I had enough room for my marriage, and I had enough room for my kids, and I had enough room for my career. And, sort of a multi-dimensional career. And it was always a challenge to me, too, to see how efficient I could get.
This is something too, being efficient. So with sorting out my life, I'm going to start off with, number 1, I'm going to have focus on 3 to 5 things, hopefully 3, but I don't know. Part of it too is that I have a bunch of projects, just like with this place. So like I've got a project that I need to do with the fence. It's a stupid, crappy chain link fence that's been here since I bought it, and I hate it that people can just walk by and look on in. And I've been working on that. I've got this tool that will remove posts for me. I'm going to hire someone to put them in, but I'm going to do the fencing and all this other stuff to cut down on the pricing, because it's just incredibly ridiculous how expensive that junk is. It's like I can do it and for a fraction of the cost. So I've got all these stupid things that I don't know. It's just a lot. So I think if I can get down to like 5 things, and then there are things that I have going on that there's actually an end to them, and I've been trying really hard to knock them down to get rid of them, and it's been happening, but it's kind of like, oh yeah, well here's a couple other things that have popped up and a couple of things that I forgot that I really kind of need to do now.
And you could also, and I've really recommended this for relatively higher income, dual income couples who are trying to pursue dual careers, kids, and marriage. You can outsource, hire a cleaning lady.
Outsource. I don't know what the hell it is I could outsource. Because the fencing stuff is just too expensive. Nope. And I know until I get this kicked off at least a little bit, things are going to be tight. So I don't know about outsourcing, but I'm going to put that down. I'm going to put that down as 1A. 1 is just to focus in on stuff, but I'll put that down as 1A, because that goes along with it. It's easier to focus in on things if you can just outsource to others. So, but it's not going to be its own separate thing, because I don't know if I'll be able to get to that. But I'll keep that in mind. Maybe I'll twist the arms of some of my friends to do a few things.
If you can afford it. Buy restaurant food.
But I've heard this forever too. Whenever I was taking my college classes, I majored in business, and one of the things that they said was your most valuable resource that you had to manage was your time, because it doesn't matter who you are. Every single person on the planet ever has only had 24 hours in a day. So what you decide to do with your time is extremely important.
if you can afford it, etc. You know, you can outsource. You can have someone do your laundry. Then you can concentrate on your marriage and your kids. I know that is only an avenue available to people who have relatively high incomes, but people who have dual incomes have relatively high incomes, and so outsource what's unnecessary so that you can concentrate on what's necessary. I mean, I didn't do that when I was beginning my career, because when I lived in the United States, when I was in my late 20s and starting my family, we had one income. You'd think a Harvard beginning professor makes a lot of money, and I suppose that's true in some absolute sense, but relatively speaking, we didn't have enough money to buy magazines. All our money went for housing cost and the basic necessities of living. I had a car that was 20 years old, 25 years old, I think. It was old. It was going right into the ground. So I concentrated on my marriage and making time for it. I concentrated on spending time with my kids consciously, and I concentrated on developing my career. Those were the three elements of my life. And I had some time left over for creative pursuits and for friends, but
and he had some time for some creative pursuits and his friends. So he's got about 5. So what does this mean for my top big 3 things myself? I'm going to pause. I'm going to think about this. For you, it'll be instantaneously. But I suggest, do this with me. Pause the video now. What are the top big 3 things that you would like to focus in on for yourself in your life? All right. So, I had to actually wait a while because I decided to brainstorm. And I guess it wasn't as bad as I thought, but I guess what I'm going to focus on is videos, YouTube, and the website. Looking into how much it would cost to do a website, because I think that was going to be a really big, important step to take. Because I think I can have like a simple little kind of cheap website. But I don't know. I might have to build up information first. But at the same time, it's like build up the information and put it on the website at the same time. So it depends on how much that is. But I could say my big plan of what I'm doing here right now. The other thing is number 2 would be some kind of side hustle, so that I have a few financial monkeys on my back. They're not too big, but I really, if I can deal with a few of them, it's like that would help out a lot with my time. And because my last one here, number 3, is try to limit myself to just 2 hobbies, and where they can also be money oriented. So for example, one of my other hobbies is I like to do woodworking. I've got a small shop, and to be able to make things that I could then also sell at the same time would be fantastic. That would be great. And I've looked into this. There's one more tool that I really need. The damn thing's expensive. I tried to buy cheaper version ones, and they did not work at all. They should have. There was no reason why they shouldn't have worked. I don't know why they didn't. So I don't want to buy a third one, because they're all pretty big and expensive. Even the small stuff is, and so it's like, no, I'll just wait. But then that way it's kind of 2 things at once. It's to break up just doing work, the monotony with it, but also being able to earn a little bit. And then that way, whenever YouTube and what I'm doing with this goes up, I can still do that, but it won't be nearly as necessary as what it is right now. So I think that's it. Because that would be about 4 things. The YouTube and the videos and the improvement in freedom of expression, and then money with this little side hustle, which I don't even know what that means. And then a couple of hobbies. I guess what I'm trying to say, if my hobbies could do the side hustling thing to be a 2-in-1 thing, which I think so. I think so, because there's no People make money off of carpentry stuff all the damn time. So it's like, why can't I? It's like, yeah, absolutely. Screw that crap. Let's continue.
So it was a matter of getting rid of time wastes of any sort, and I just pushed that out of my life, day after day until I wasn't wasting any time.
That is something that I would love to do. Sometimes I get caught up in just kind of planning too much. I kind of get lost in my head. And just another one is that I do have a friend who's been a really good friend for a couple of decades, and I get to talking to him way too much. It's like, but I like it, but it's like, no, enough is enough. It's like, it's fine, you caught up, say goodbye, and, get on with it.
Set up.
For example, there was one time whenever me and him, we were spending like every single day together and several hours. It's like, yeah, if I had to go back and do it again, it's like, it's a little overkill there, pal. So back off on that a little bit. That was too much. It's okay kind of in a way to do that whenever you're young, whenever you're a kid. But you definitely, I would say, even by the time you're in high school, you really kind of need to cut back on that. So that's like little kid stuff. And I did that whenever I was a little kid. So I would say that's not as appropriate as whenever you get older.
Your vision, like Geppetto when he's looking at the star before Pinocchio's transformation takes place. You have to set up your long-term vision. You have some vision of the good towards which you're working, and some vision, perhaps, of the hell that you're avoiding.
And so he says this one a lot, and I have done this. I have done his authoring program, and it's exactly what he's saying right here. And he says it all the time in so much stuff, and that is, write about your future self. 2 versions. Write about your absolute best self, that if you got yourself sorted out, what would it look like? Within reason. Don't say something stupid like, I'm going to be a billionaire and rule the universe. No. Within reason. And then write a second future self where it's just everything's gone to hell. You stopped caring. You just did whatever. So, for example, for me, a real thing is what would happen cleaning up my diet and my exercise, or just eating the hell out of all the cake that I want to and being a happy little baby cake face. I could so eat cake all the time. It's like, well, I listed all that stuff. So it meant a lower food bill. It meant better health, less medical bills, not worrying about diabetes, lower costs in clothes. Whenever I was 50 pounds heavier, my clothes cost more because I was having to buy from the big and tall section because I was big. Those cost more. They use more fabric because there's more of you to cover up. So it was less on all of these financial things. It was physically being better for me, and more confident too, because it's like, yeah, I'm not this big fat slob anymore. It's like, so like in a couple of years, what would that look like if I got it together and just let myself go? And I did that with all that, and it's helped out a lot. And I've done it enough, and I see it enough, and kind of practice it enough that I think I can flesh the rest of this out. So I guess what I need to do then is, what that's really saying is goals.
And then I would say,
oops, sorry, wrong button. All right, so with my things that I was going to focus on is the video, website growth. 2 is improvement. Yes, that's more focused. That's more of what I want. Improving myself and making myself more efficient. Stop wasting time. That's just too huge. That's just too huge. And then 2 hobbies / side hustle kind of thing. That works. That works a lot. And then, so the other thing that I want to take from this is I need to rewrite my goals. It's been a while since I've done it, but I think I've done it in kind of a mild practice, and some of them have happened, some haven't, of course, because that's just the way that it always goes. But I've been thinking about this since I saw this video, so I guess it's been a few days since I saw this video. Yeah, it's been a few days. Because I didn't see it on the 27th whenever it came out. It was a few days after. And I was like, I started to think about it, and it was like, I could really do this the best that I've ever done before. Because now understanding, you know, kind of the effort that it takes, that a lot of this is actually a lot more difficult than what it sounds. It's like, it's easier to readjust now.
Once you set up that vision so that you know how to orient yourself, then you should start designing your days. And you can do that very effectively with a calendar like Google Calendar.
I don't want to use Google Calendar, because the problem with that is that Google and all these other big tech companies, they want to create a profile about you. They want to know everything about you, and then they want to market towards you. And it happens constantly. I hate it. I was looking up stuff with, like, so for example, with some weight equipment, with some kettlebell stuff. Guess what I started seeing all over my homepage? All kinds of weight stuff, especially kettlebell stuff. I was looking into a 3D printer too. Guess what I'm seeing all over my homepage? 3D printer stuff. It's garbage. See, I was looking at joiners right here too, and it's like, I don't care. And then the homepage is just so stupid. I hate all this stuff. Kellogg's U.S. cereal plant workers go on strike. Oh, really? I wonder why. That one's kind of interesting. Criminal inquiry into Trump's Georgia election interference gathers steam. Where's the stupid stuff? Let me show you the stupid stuff. Charlie Sheen will no longer pay Denise Richards child support. I do not care. Well, I do not care what's going on in these people's personal lives. That they were stars or whatever, and I guess he still kind of is, and it's like, I do not care. Why are you telling me this worthless garbage? I do not care about celebrityism. Who's this? Shakira flaunts curves in silver. I don't care. Why are they showing me this? I don't give two damns about these worthless people. Michaela Maroney in swimsuit shows off body confidence? What? Garbage. What a waste of time. You know, this is one of the things that used to waste a lot of my time. I got clickbaited into so much stuff. It wasn't this trash, though. I can at least say that. It wasn't that trash. But something like this one would have. Sunken Russian nuclear subs to be raised. That would have gotten my attention. It's like, who cares? Just who cares? Britney Spears posts butt pic. I don't care. Why is this here? Who the hell cares about this? Oh, Washington woman died from rare blood clotting syndrome after receiving Johnson & Johnson. I do not care about an outlier. If this was happening and there was like 500,000 people that was suffering from this, I would care. But finding one random person somewhere is not a damn story. CNC machines, because you know what? I was looking at joiners. And I decided to look at other stuff. Wasn't interested in it, but I always just like to look. I like to browse. I like to do the window shopping just like anybody else. And now I got this crap coming up. Oops. Black ex-Tesla worker awarded almost for $137 million for racial abuse. Like, I have a feeling there's going to be more to it than that. New Zealand's crazy. See Oscar de la Hoya's daughter, who's a model now. I don't care. I don't care about Oscar de la Hoya. I don't give a damn about his daughter. I don't give a damn about models. What a waste of time. I don't care about the celebrities' custody battles. I tell you what, people who really get into these celebrity things, man, what worthless a-holes. Jake Gyllenhaal says filming love scenes with Jennifer Aniston was torture because of his crush. It's like, she's like old enough to be your mom, kid. What the hell are you talking about? I see so many of these girls in showing off their abs kind of things. It's just like Jessica Biel. What? books first on-camera role in 2 years. I don't care. I don't give a damn. It's like, I knew her a little bit, but I don't care. Why is this? Sarah Silverman says Hollywood has a problem with Jew face. It's like, no, they don't. You're a piece of trash who changes your mind all the time. I don't want to hear about you. Here we go. Cindy Crawford, 55, flaunts her super sculpted legs. Don't give a damn. Why are you telling me this worthless garbage? I mean, at least if they're going to manipulate my homepage, at least manipulate it with something that I give a damn about. Oh my. I'm a 24-year-old who struggles with acne and scarring. It's like, just jump a cliff. Find a cliff and go jump. Here's another one. January Jones, whoever the hell she is, shows off curves in swimsuit for Halloween. That doesn't even make sense. Swimsuit and Halloween? Drew Barrymore talks clash between Lucy Liu and Bill Murray's on Charlie's Angels. That movie is like at least 10, 20 years old? Why the hell are they talking about this? How pathetic is this? It's like, just, trash. Every last bit of that, just trash. And most of that stuff with politics, I would say, if I wasn't doing this, would be trash too. Because it's so much novelization and fluff. But but how do I do this with a calendar? I think I'm just going to have to, I think I'm just going to have to write it out. Because I see the utility of it. And I've tried to write it out before, and it's like, that thing's kind of hard to get a grasp on. And I don't know if I'm just not approaching it correctly, or if I'm just kind of set in my ways, because it's like, I've never thought about living by a calendar at all. So am I just having to deal with breaking habits? Because, man, it's kind of nice. I see the utility of living by a calendar, but it's also, it's nice not living by one, and it's just comfortable doing something that you know, which is, for me, not a calendar.
And instead of, many people say, well, I hate using a schedule, or I hate using a calendar.
So with number 2, that's what I want to do. I want to rewrite my goals with, instead of 1, 2, 3, let's do A, B, and C. And with A, and these don't have to be in order, but I back up a little bit. He was saying, rewrite my goals, and then to a calendar.
Google Calendar. And instead of, many people say, well, I hate using
/schedule. Yeah.
using a schedule, or I hate using a calendar. And what I would say about that is that if you hate using a schedule or a calendar, then you're probably using it wrong. What you're doing is using the calendar as an external tyrant that's telling you what you should do if you're going to be a conventionally good person.
Yeah, I think that was something that I was doing. That part of it I was definitely doing was that I was writing this to be a good person instead of a productive person. And I have a story that goes along with this. And that was whenever I was going to church, I was doing a small groups. And there was this guy who was older than me, and he would come for the evening portion because we would get together and we would eat. But he was mentally and physically disabled. And what ended up happening was that the group ended up catering to him and helping him instead of us actually talking about and doing what we were all there to do in the first place. And so I had to tell him that we were not going to come and pick him up and get his meals and do all of these other things, because it ended up being a lot of different problems. He would not bathe. He would not wash his clothes, so he smelled horribly. He was in a wheelchair. but he could also use arm crutches. They're a little bit different. It's where these crutches are designed to fit around your arms so you can walk with your arms in these crutches. So if you don't have use of your legs, you can still get around, because he had just a fair bit of use of his legs. He could lock them up is what he could do. But he couldn't walk with them. But he didn't want to do that. And so whenever he would come over and he needed to go use the restroom, instead of trying to get his wheelchair down the hallway, he would just drag himself on the carpet, which would make the carpet stink and my place would smell for a couple of days. It's like, no, you got to figure all this stuff out on your own, like everyone else is, because we're not caregivers. That's not what we're here for. You know, it's like, if somebody wants to do that, that's fine. But that's not what I'm here for. I've had no desire to be a caregiver. I don't ever want to do that stuff, and I'm not going to. But before I kind of understood all this, we were doing this. We would have to go to his place because he was in this kind of community setting. We would have to go find him, bring him to the vehicle, and we loaded him up in his wheelchair, and then have to do all that in reverse whenever he got here, and then take him back. And then I decided, you know what, let's just chip in a little bit of money, and we'll get him some things to help out. You know, and it was just basic things: toothbrush, deodorant, soap, shampoo. I didn't, and I just went out and I just got the stuff, and then I gave it to him, and it was like, I didn't make a big scene out of it or anything, because I wasn't trying to virtue signal off of it. I wasn't trying to make him feel bad because of it. It was just none of that. So I just went one day and said, hey, yeah, we just all pitched in together and we got you this stuff. And he got pissed. I mean, pissed, because he started yelling at me. It's like, I don't know what you think you're doing, because I'll knock your teeth in. I don't give a damn who you are. I didn't say any of this stuff, but it was like, I'm just going to bite my tongue and I'm going to leave, because I don't give a damn. And the final straw in it all was that I forgot what brought this on, but I ended up talking to the management of the facility, and they said something along the lines like, "Oh yeah, we know about John's attitude or his temper." I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" He's like, well, he likes to use you as a weapon. I was like, what? What are you talking about? He said, well, he'll fight and he'll argue and yell and scream at his family because they want to give him a caregiver because he's not taking care of himself like he's supposed to. But I mean, you see how he is. You know, he's just not doing it at all, and he smells and looks horrible. It's like, oh yeah, I know. That's what that yelling thing was. In fact, I think that was it. I think they were talking to me about that. Like, oh, how often do you have to do with that? Oh, it was the first time I experienced that. And they said that he's using you as a weapon because he'll tell them that I don't need a caregiver because I can go do things on my own. And I go to church and I go to small group without you. And it's like, that's a damn lie. He does not do that. We do that. We load him up. We drive him. We get him his food. We do all that stuff. And it's like, one of the things that really aggravated me too was that he would not go to the restroom before he would leave. And the bathrooms there at his place were larger so that people who needed the extra room for mobility, they had it. And he would wait until everything was done. It's time for him to go. That's whenever he would want to do it. And because he didn't have function, he would end up it would end up on the floor. So it's like, yeah, this is not what we're doing. You're going to have to figure this out, because I got tired of finding out one bad thing after another. And whenever I found out that he was using our good intentions as a weapon against his family, it's like, no, we're done. And I said, you're welcome to come, but we're not doing this anymore. You have to get your own life together, because we were never going to do that. I am not going to sacrifice half of my life to take care of you. I'm not even getting paid for it. And it's like, even if that was the case, I still wouldn't want to do it. I've never felt that calling at all, not once. But there are some people who do, and it's like, good, and that's great, and more power to them. But that's not me, and it never will be. And yeah, and the family, they were just after I found out talking to the management that it was just one problem after another, and he was using this as an excuse with more than one of his issues. And it's like, yeah, no, we're done. And that's how I kind of see this. I recognize this with being a conventionally good person. It's like, no, I do not need to be all of these things. That I need to focus in. So that's some strong advice that I would give you, is that if you too are looking to kind of clean up your life and to be a little bit more focused, are you doing what you really want to do, or are you letting others or other influences direct you in ways that you don't want to do? And you know what helps with that is figuring out, by sitting down and saying, this is what I want to do with my life, and I don't owe you or anybody else a damn thing. You know what? Now, if we're friends, it's like, yeah, maybe we can help each other out, but it's a two-way street. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You know, it's like, yeah, that's good. You know, if you have kids, I mean, that would be an exception. It's like, no, you should do things for your kids because they didn't have that choice. The parents made the choice with that. So, food for thought.
In each day. So you load yourself up with arbitrary, we'll say, arbitrary responsibilities. But that's not really how you should use a schedule. What you should use a schedule to do is to design the day that you would most like to have. And obviously,
yeah, so to rewrite my goals to a calendar and schedule with the days / life that I want to have. And this is, I don't have a girl. I put all that on pause because those relationships were not good at all either. Fun, but not good. And this helps. Is that because now that I know I have a much clearer vision of what the hell it is that I want out of my life, it's like, okay, well, you know what? This is what I want out of my life. And so I want a girl who also wants the same thing. And if she doesn't, then she can go hit the road. I don't have time for that nonsense anymore. So
that's going to include accepting some responsibility and undertaking to make progress on those things that you have to make progress on to keep your life from collapsing into chaos. But it should also mean...
Yeah, because I tell you what, this is one of the many problems with my family, was that it was really great for them whenever I was doing what they wanted, and it was never about me. I suffered a lot of things, and this is one of the more milder ones, but this is definitely one of the things that I have come to really hate, is that the selfishness of, oh, that's so good. Oh, thanks for helping. You're so good. Screw you. Take your word, vomit, and shove it. I don't want to hear that crap. Because, you know, there was nothing wrong with helping them, but that was all that it ever was. It's like, how about developing me some? How about some of the things that I'm interested in? None of it. It was that was absolute, positively, 100% bullshit abuse. And now with the internet and all the stuff that I've seen, it's like, yeah, you bet your ass it is. It's like, if every parent needs to say, I need to shut the hell up and I need to help my child. I hate that phrase. Well, I'm raising a child. It's like, say the rest of it, you worthless piece of garbage. I'm raising my child to be an adult. Not my slave, not my fucking little bitch, but my goddamn child's gonna be an adult. How about that shit? Pardon my French. It's like, because I could have been so much more with doing the things in my life than what I'm currently doing. But little kids, they don't know any better. It's like I do not look at little 10-year-olds or even 20-year-olds and think of them as being very mature or capable or responsible, especially if they have trash parents. And I've noticed this growing up with myself and with my friends and just with other people. Whenever parents are truly involved with their children, how much different those kids end up later in life. Oh,
And that you schedule in activities that make you actually want to have that day. And so if you're using a schedule properly.
yes, I want to have that day. That just sums it up. So like exercising is it's kind of a hard one to stay motivated for, but whenever you lay it out, so some of the things is that my mom died of cancer, and whenever you keep your body healthy, people who diet and exercise are less likely to have cancer, because one of the things is sugar. Sugar will feed cancer cells. So you cut that crap out. I tell you what, that is a big motivator for me for cutting out sugar. And so a little report is that last week it was the end of casual sugar eating and the end of fast food, except for Saturday is going to be a cheat day, or Friday. Kind of depends on, it'll be one of those 2 days. Sunday used to be a cheat day. That's gone. And mission accomplished. Like I don't see any problems with me. Monday through Friday, I was eating the same thing, chicken and vegetables for both my meals. And that gets kind of hard to do, even though I do enjoy it. It is good. It's just the constant repetitiveness is kind of what gets to me. But I've changed up where I'm now looking to where I'm going to still have the chicken and vegetables. But for the other meal, I was thinking, I think I can do stew and just and thoroughly enjoy that. Because another problem that I was having was also eating the vegetables such as kale, the green leafy vegetables are really hard. What's another one? That's spinach is a little difficult. Cabbage isn't so bad. Oh, what's that one? Collard greens are hard to eat too. And yeah, so but putting them in a stew and cooking it that way, that wasn't bad at all. I just have to fine tune that in a little bit. And then on my second meal on Wednesday and one of my meals on Sunday, it's going to be pork. I like ribs, and so I could cook up some pork ribs and then divide that out in a couple of weeks, put it in the deep freezer until I'm ready, let it thaw out the day before. And it's like, yeah, because that was kind of like a big problem was I wanted the fast food because I wanted to break up that same eating pattern that I was doing every single day. And it's like, well, go ahead and break it up and just cook it at home and do it at home and have it be healthier. It's like, yeah, because I already did that. I did the stew, and it's like, that's fantastic. And I put the extra in the deep freezer. And the sugar, I'd already been working on cutting that down. And so I'm not going to have sugar casually. I will have sugar, the big sugar stuff, only on special occasions, which are occasions that happen once a year. Holidays, birthdays, Christmas. The only sugar that I'm going to have is for my coffee creamer. That's it. Now, right now, I still do have these little peppermints. I bought a big bag of them. I have a few of them a day. But whenever those things are done, I'm not going to get any more. And then I do have gum. But this gum, it's from Trident, and it's xylitol, which is supposed to be what makes it sweet, and it's not sugar. I know it can be some wordplay nonsense on this stuff, but it says xylitol. It's the only thing that I see. Not potassium, soy. Well, it has sucralose. That might be sugar. It says sugar or alcohol, 1 gram. Sugar or alcohol, though, that's xylitol. I don't care. I like chewing. Chewing's supposed to be good for your teeth, for your jaw, and that something about the chewing motion helps with your teeth. So I've never heard it otherwise. So, and the xylitol, it's supposed to be an active ingredient that helps fight cavities. Like, well, I haven't had cavities so forever. So I mean, whenever I was like a little kid, I think I had a couple with my baby teeth. And then this last Sunday, I was also supposed to fast for all of Sunday, and I failed that. I bombed that, and that's fine. As long as I'm making progress, that's the only thing that matters. I lasted until about noon. It's like, screw this! And it was, num, 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 num. But I got down into the 170s after I go and did my running. I came home and I weighed myself, and I was at like 178. Now, a good deal of that was water weight, but I actually got down into 178, and that was like, that's nice. But with that extra weight loss, and especially no sugar, it's like the cravings were too much. But there's always next weekend. So I think this Sunday, I'll at least be able to make it until noon again, if not longer. So, but I'm more pleased and happy about the sugar. So just absolutely, because it's just the end of it. My cravings before then, I had them a little bit last week, but it wasn't bad, and I don't think I'm going to have a problem at all this week. So
that it can be your friend, and that can also be something that can increase your capacity to concentrate. And then I would say, well, if you're very scattered, then you can start to train yourself. You might say, well, I need to learn to read without distraction. So maybe what you do, you say, okay, well, for the next week, I'm going to read 10 minutes a day, and I'm going to try to limit the distractions.
Yeah, and that's something he talks about all the time too, is always start off small and just build up little by little. So I want to rewrite my goals to a calendar and schedule with the day in life that I want to have. I want to have that day. And then with part B, with doing that, is to do focused training, having set times of improvement.
And if you're successful at that, then you can try 12 minutes a day. And if you're successful at that, you can try 15 minutes
of improvement. And increasing in small amounts. Whenever I lost that 50 pounds, that was exactly what I was doing. It was just little by little by little by little. It wasn't just going from all these horrible things just straight down and just being perfect. It's like I tried that several times throughout my life, and it was utter failure each time. But all of these smaller little improvements, it was still an up and down thing, but it gradually went down, and it's like that worked well. I mean, I'm not 230 pounds, just look at me, so yeah.
minutes a day. And the trick is to set a goal for yourself that is slightly beyond your current level of performance, enough to be challenging, enough to be worthwhile if you accomplish, but not so difficult that you're likely to fail. I plan my day obsessively. My calendar is always absolutely full, and often weeks in advance. And I plan in the morning, especially when I'm on.
Man, I don't know how he does it. I
plan my day.
He plans his day obsessively. So I think C, here under 2C, having the objective of being able to, we'll put it the way he does, plan my days out obsessively. And he talked about this with like his clients whenever he was much more into his clinical work, where he had a lot of doctors, for example, because he's got a lot of doctor stories, saying how it's really cutthroat. That you have a client that's paying you $700, $750 an hour to fix a problem right now, and that if you're not going to do it, there's some upstart, young, desperate lawyer that's looking to make a name for themselves, who's just graduated, and they will do it. So you better get up, you better do it now, or you're going to lose. And it's because they do this. They're like obsessive with it. He had a story where, they will look for a microwave that will cook something 30 seconds faster because every second is precious to them. I hope I don't have to do something like that. I keep it open in the very back crevice of my mind. If that's what it takes, then so be it. But I hope not. But it's there just in case. And it's like, of course there are some people out there. I mean, why wouldn't there be? There are people out there who are the exact opposite, just complete and utter total slobby laziness of wretchedness. You think that there aren't people who are just some kind of OCD obsessive with planning everything out? Like, yeah, absolutely. I've definitely known people who have obsessively planned their day better than what I've done. That I've definitely seen. Not to the level that he's talked about, but I haven't really known people who have been in that kind of cutthroat stuff. The people who I've known who they've been like small business owners. They do that pretty well. They've definitely had their days planned out and just nonstop, and it's like I gotta go. So, but lawyers, it's like they're all kind of that's kind of different than a small business owner. So, at least my observations.
Obsessively, my calendar is always absolutely full and often weeks in advance. And I plan in the morning, especially when I'm on top of things.
Okay, so I'm gonna have with C with Roman numeral 1, plan in the morning. I hear that one constantly. A lot of people plan in the morning, and they say because they're fresh. Wake up in the morning kind of clear-headed, just got done sleeping, and it's just the time to do it. Whenever everything's just kind of quiet and calm and still before other people have woken up, especially if you live in a household with other people, do it before they get up and all the nonsense is there,
So, and I plan each hour, and I probably plan each minute. And yes, it leads to way higher productivity. You decide what your goals are going to be. You place them in the calendar. Use the calendar as your friend, because what you want to do with the calendar is design a day.
As a friend, I'm going to put that down. Calendar equals friend. I don't know if I can do this crap, but I'm never going to know if I don't try. And let's just humor that proposition. Let's say that you can. Let's say that there are people out there who do. Why can't I be one of them? Screw that defeatist mentality. I'm not going to let anybody talk me down from this. So it's like, no, stud right here. So what about you? Yeah, so I like it too. It's kind of fun to think of just being like this powerhouse. So yeah, with some balance though. I mean, I don't think what would be great would be to plan out every hour, but also with the hobbies and the family and stuff. Not just all work. No, screw that nonsense. I hope I don't have to do that, but I don't know what I want to do with all this. I don't know. Time will tell.
Day that you want to have, or a day that would be good for you. And a day that would be good for you is one that you're when you end the day, you feel that you've moved yourself ahead towards your valued goals, and that you've kept chaos under control. And that enables you to sleep soundly and with a good conscience, and to know that the next day is going to be at least not worse than that day. Planning is unbelievably useful. You need to figure out what it is that you're aiming at and why, and then you need to figure out how you're going to break that down.
Yeah, that's a big key right there. It's not just planning it out.
What it is that you're aiming at and why, and then
but why? Here's what I'm planning out, and here's why. For you, and not for anyone else. Unless if it's someone like your spouse, and hopefully you've got the same goals, and you can do some of that stuff together. So
you need to figure out how you're going to break that down over the months and the weeks and the days. But I would approach your calendar like it's your best friend. You think, okay, I'm going to design a week, man, that I really want to have. And that means you can schedule in leisure and all the things that you want.
Yeah, screw that. Let's up this. I said calendar equals friend. And he just said best friend. Yeah. Because it's like, yeah, go big or go home. Go big or go home. It's like, I'm going big.
Want to do, which you absolutely should do. Learning to plan is unbelievably useful to schedule your time, because that's your life,
That is your life, isn't it? What are you doing with your time? I'm going to have to rewrite all this. Because it's real easy to get motivated right now whenever you're watching a video like this, but to actually keep it up and to continue to do it, that's a challenge in and all of itself.
But schedule the life you want. That means you have to schedule your responsibilities, obviously, because responsibilities are those things that ruin your life if you don't fulfill them. Learn to use a calendar, like Google Calendar. Many of you out there, do not use a calendar. Okay, a calendar is not a prison, and it's not a tyrant. Not if you use it properly. A calendar keeps anxiety at bay. It makes sure that you do what you need to do, which is important, because otherwise you fall behind. But if you use it properly, it's also helps you plan what you want to do. So I could say, well, lay out your damn calendar, and
what you need and want to do.
Design the days you would like to have. That's what your calendar is for. So you can put in all sorts of things in there you want to do, and that would be good for you. And that's a really good way to start being more industrious. Make a plan. You need a plan for 3 years. You need a plan for the next year.
Okay. I'm going to put that down as number 3. Specifically, plan 3 years out. 1 year.
You need a plan for the next 6
months. Because that helps. I have gotten better at this from what I was at the beginning of planning all this stuff out. And it's taken a while, but I do it, and it's definitely helped.
6 months. You need to plan for the next 3 months.
3 months, 6 months, and 3 months.
You need a plan for the
week. Yeah. There are. I've gotten to the point where I do quite a bit. I do better. I wasn't planning at the week with very much at all. It was not very much. I do that more now, and I like it.
You need a plan for the day.
And I've started doing this with the day too. I always kind of did this, but it was very sporadic, and it was just kind of I'm much more kind of focused in, I guess you can say, and it feels better. It does relieve anxiety because part of that is saying that I'm going to deal with this on this day, and part of that means that I'm not going to worry about it or think about it until I have it planned. So I'm going to let that worry or that anxiety not bother me. And that happens in part because I have something else planned for right now. And so that's where I put my attention.
Day, you need a plan for the hour.
For the hour is hard. Planning for the hour is hard is because it's hard saying how long a task is going to happen. And I've known this one for a long time. So for a little while, I was a service technician for DirecTV. And we would have to call customers up and give them a 4-hour window of when to expect us. The early jobs would usually work that way, but the further you got into the day, the less that was a thing. And that's because you could go into that very first job, and what sounded like it was going to take like 2 hours, it's like, no, this is going to take 6. Because the people never knew what the situation was. With their machines, with the satellite, with the wiring, they had no idea at all. And so you could have some jobs that would take like 30 minutes, other jobs that would take 3 hours. Every now and then you would have a job that would take like 6 hours. And so once in a blue moon, you would have to reschedule some of the end of the day jobs for the next day because it's like there's no way that it's going to happen. So that's hard. That's real hard. But I guess thinking about it now, that if you have a plan and you're only focusing in on like 3 hard things, a lot of that is just going to be repetitiveness. And so then that would make it easier to plan out at least those things. So for example, I guess for me, it would be, well, researching a topic is going to take roughly this long, and there's a lot of variation with that because some topics are very easy to find and some are just suck. Some of them are so bad that I've had to do something else instead because I just can't find the information that I was looking for. But other things like uploading a video, I have a really good idea of how long that's going to take. It's roughly every minute that the video is about how long it's going to take to upload. So uploading on the 4 sites, if the video's about an hour long, then it's going to take about an hour to upload onto all 4 sites. I do them all at once. So that's kind of easy to fit in. So yeah, and I'm just not gonna. There's no way to figure that stuff out without actually doing it. And there's no videos out there that's ever going to tell me something like that. It's just something you just have to do. So procrastination is just saying, well, I need to watch more or learn more or read more. No, you need to do it.
All of that. I make lists constantly of what I have to do. And they're like daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. I've asked my undergraduates frequently how much time they waste per day, and general estimates are like 6 to 8 hours of time they regard themselves as wasting.
Yeah, I've heard him say this a lot too. You know, he's told his students this several, like I think every semester or a year, however long his classes are, and it's I guess semester, and they say this constantly. You know, and they list this stuff. You know, so for example, they'll say that they'll go to the library and they'll study for like 4 hours. And it's like, no, it's not, 45 minutes. And I've seen the video footage where he's before all of this, before he came to any kind of prominence, he was just recording his classes. And all the students laugh. And it's because they know exactly what he's talking about because they do it. And, back in the day, I know I did it too. So
that's a whole career right there, right? So if you just stop wasting time, you can do a tremendous amount, especially if you also try to maximize efficiency. And I always found that incredibly motivating. A motivating game. How much can I do in the least amount of time possible?
This is something too. Motivating game. I don't know how you make that into a game. But I'll put that down, motivating game. Because I definitely see the benefits of it, because he's talked about this too, and he gives the example of if you argue with your child every night for like 15 minutes to go to bed, and you're doing that every single night, then do the math with it, and it's like a full-time job for like 3 months. It's like 8 hours a day for like 3 months. How do you think you're going to feel about your kid? And how much time are you wasting? It's a good little story that he gives. And that is, how much can I do in the least amount of time possible? Today. Or how much can I do in the least amount of time possible? How much can I do in the least amount of time possible? So why have I had problems about this? Let me mull this over a little bit here. Okay, yeah, I think part of the problem with it is that you can't decrease the amount of time possible in doing a task if you're new to the task. Because you're just learning too much. I've done this with jobs. It's like at first, whenever I've had a new job, it's like it takes me a long time, but as I get better at the job, I'm able to do it quicker. Yeah. And so, motivational game, how much can I do in the least amount of time possible? Well, Roman numeral 1. First, you have to do the work enough to know it, to know how it's done. Then clean it up. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I've been too hard on myself on that. I've been approaching it wrong.
Awesome. That's fun to try to do that, as far as I'm concerned. I know, that's maybe undoubtedly a temperamental thing, but if you're wired.
That little noise is my phone because I've been trying to plan things out by an hour on some things. Complete failure, but I still have it there as a reminder, and so it's kind of always there in the back of my mind. But part of it is this: like, how do you clean up something? How do you become more efficient, effective at it if you don't even know what you're doing in the first place? So you just have to go out and do it, and then you do this. So I guess he's kind of missing a step there a little bit. Or I guess he's assuming that you're not making any radical changes like I'm doing. But you're already doing something, and it's like, okay, you know what you're doing, so clean it up.
Heard that way, that's a great meta strategy. Become efficient. I always ask my graduate students when they were designing experiments, they'd come with a proposal. I'd say to them, is there any way you could do this 10 times faster? What would you have?
How can you do it 10 times faster? I bet most of them didn't, but did they get it like 5 times faster? It's like that. Even if it was just 2 times faster, it's like that's all of it would still be good. So
Have to cut. What would you have to change to do this 10 times faster? And you can learn to do that. I also learned to force the task to fit the time.
I've heard this before too. Force the task to fit the time. And then in quotes. You just have to play with it. I guess the reoccurring theme with it all is that it's just going to take time. It's going to take a lot of experience to be able to do this. I guess these are all skills, just like with the piano. These are skills that you have to learn. But I guess the big difference with this is that these are skills that you're not going to learn in school. There's not really going to be anybody who's going to be able to teach you these things. You're just going to have to figure these things out for yourself. It's like, and people do this. You're not going to convince me for one damn second that there aren't people out there who are extremely efficient and effective. Like, absolutely not. You bet your ass there are.
And there's this dictum: work expands to fill the time allowed for its completion.
I've heard that.
Work expands to fill the time allowed for its completion. Well, there's a corollary to that, which is work becomes more efficient in proportion to the restrictions of time placed upon it.
Place time restrictions by dividing it up as small as possible. An example of that, I think, would be, I shouldn't say, well, I have like 2 hours to do a YouTube video. It should be, I have 1 minute to go get, or 10 seconds to go get water. And to do every little thing. It's going to take, I give myself like 5 minutes to copy and paste and to write out my title and my description for all 4 different platforms. Or maybe that should be divided up too. It's going to take me 5 minutes to fill out all my information for the Facebook platform. It's going to take me 7 minutes to fill out all the information for the YouTube platform, something along that, because YouTube takes the longest. They've got the most to fill out. Rumble's the easiest. Rumble takes like maybe 2 minutes, because you can do it all pretty quickly, and I don't have any problems with Rumble. YouTube's the one that does flagging. They're the only ones. And then Bitchute just does not like to load up for some reason. I have real problems with them.
So if you say, well, this could take me 2 weeks, but I'm going to do the best job I could in 1 day, you'd be amazed you could get 90% of the way or 95% of the way or sometimes even farther in that day. So that's another way of becoming efficient. If you only have 10 minutes to do something that should maybe take you 2 hours, maybe you can figure out how to do it in 10 minutes. You can get dreadfully efficient. So that's very much worthwhile.
And this is where this comes in, where your friends matter. This would be easier to do if you already had people in your life who were effective and efficient, because you could have them and look at what they were doing as examples, and then switch it around to make it fit your life. It's hard for me to diet and exercise if all my friends are just sitting around eating junk food, because I get tempted with that, and it's like I want to eat it too, and I definitely gain weight whenever that happens. So I try not to spend too much time with them together, especially whenever it's time to eat, because I don't want that temptation. The best physically fit I was ever at was whenever I was in the Army, and it was real easy because everybody had to do physical training. And for the most part, we enjoyed it pretty much, and it was the best part of it was just having everyone else there, all the other guys, and just kind of cutting up and having a fun time and just talking and socializing and all that stuff. So yeah.
In my estimation, if you want to do a lot of things, what else are you going to do?
And it gets harder as you get older, because as you get older, people's time starts getting eaten up with spouses and with children and with work. Whenever you're young and you're a kid, like, well, your work is going to school and you're around with everyone else who's roughly the same age as you, and so it's a whole different beast whenever you get out of school. It's harder to meet people as you get older, because they're at school. It's like everyone's there at school, and you get away from it. It's like it's all gone.
Rather than become efficient, if you want to do many things, you don't have much choice. But I found it extremely entertaining to try to do that.
That's it. Man, I tell you what, this is just Jordan Peterson. I tell you what was that? A 10.5-minute video, and it was just chock full with stuff, and it was just, there was probably more that I should have taken out of that, but for the most part. So for this week, I'm going to focus on sorting out my life and making my calendar my best friend. Scheduling your time is your life. That I need to schedule it with what I need and want to do, and me, and not doing for others. It's like, no, you can take care of yourself. And it's not my fault if you burn down your relationships and your bridges with your people, with your friends, and especially with your family members. How about you get your head out your butt and you go do right by them, and you demand that they do right by you too. And if not, then you know what, screw them, because you know what, screw my dad. I don't want crap to do with that piece of trash. And that I need to focus on 3 things, no more than 5. I'm not going to be able to outsource anything. Maybe there are some small little things that I can outsource. And I do this a little bit. I've mentioned this before. I'm a landlord, and I do outsource some of that stuff with electricians, carpenters, plumbers. But there are some things where it's like I have to do it. It's just so expensive for some things, and I can do it. And it depends. Like doing the carpet, there are several tools that, like this little knee kicker thing, costs like $100. And if I bought one of those things, I would have just used it a handful of times over the years. It wouldn't have been worth it. And it takes 2 people to bring the carpet in anyway. So there are jobs where you just can't, you don't have that choice. I need to rewrite my goals, and I need to try to set it to a calendar and a schedule with the days in the life that I want to have. I want to be able to say, I want to have that day. To be focused training, have set times of improvement and increase in small amounts. Or no, B, to focus on training, and then C, objective of being able to plan my day out obsessively. That's the objective. You know, and I need to do my planning in the morning. I need to do a 3-year plan, a 1 year, 6 months, 3 months, weeks, day, and for the hour. The hour I won't do. That's because I've got too much to learn. I don't know enough yet to be able to do that. 3 years goals. It's goals. They're very broad. It's not very much at all, and you get more specific as you bring it in. So what you're planning for the week should be pretty specific, and for the day pretty specific. So, and if I've been doing YouTube for like several years, I could be really specific with all of that for the hours. Motivational game. How much can I do in the least amount of time possible? First, you have to have the work. You have to do the work enough to know how it's done, then clean it up. How can I do it 10 times faster? Force the task to fit the time. You just have to play with it, place time restrictions by dividing it up as small as possible. So yeah, I'm going to continue with this line because it had to start off first with, I'm not going to be able to do hardly a fraction of this work if my health is all screwed up. So it's like, well, sleeping, because sleeping is roughly 8 hours a day. It's a third of your life. So it's like a major chunk. But it should be relatively easy because it's just one thing. It's just sleep. And then cleaning up my diet was a big thing. And so hopefully my body's sorting itself all out. And yeah, next week it's going to be exercising, stretching, equipment, cardio, weightlifting, kind of all that stuff. Maybe some nutritional supplements. I've done supplements a little bit, but I guess this would be more for cardiovascular and whey protein and stuff. So if you've learned from this and you're getting a kick out of this, and this is helping you too, then give the video a like, subscribe and become a member. It helps me out. I appreciate it. Thanks. See you again later. Bye.